I grew up in the Army in a lot of ways, from knowing how I wanted to sort of be in my life. I wanted to be a good person. I didn't have a real factor of a certain yardstick I wanted to reach, but part of the yardstick of measurement were the people I was around and knew that were good people. I didn't need more inspiration than that. And I learned as a Lakota, it's not what you do, it's what you do for. It was a way of carrying on a version of being a warrior for the plus of society. We grew up mostly as kids bouncing around on Pine Ridge Reservation, staying near our grandparents until my brother started getting older. Then they started going into the military. And I was still a young, as they said, punk kid growing up on the res. I got sent to, and I don't want to mention the name, I guess, but it's one of the boarding schools, and it's in South Dakota. I got sent there at the same time with 4 of my cousins. They and I did everything together. We played hockey together by flooding part of one of our grandfather's corrals. We all played with the horses he grew. We all learned how to talk to horses. Growing up in South Dakota was to me very good. It was to me all I ever wanted until I went to the boarding school. That changed me a lot. It made me actually dislike certain types of people. And most of the guys at that boarding school that I had conflict with, of the administrating staff, they were guys who had avoided the draft. To me, it was a denigrating experience where, you were put down because of who you were. And you have to learn to be a better person, but you can never be white. There was always a very distinct difference. And you knew that because we couldn't talk to each other if you knew a different tribal language. I used to be able to say the Lord's Prayer in Lakota, and nobody wanted to let you do that. And this is a Catholic school, a religious school. But it was a hard time for me. I mean, I got told that they were going to have to clip my tongue with scissors because I stuttered. That scared me to death, and I don't know how that would feel, and I didn't want to know. And I used to go to sleep because sleep tried to lay with my face on a pillow, so I'd know at least they're trying to flip me over. Maybe I could do something to get away. But I had nowhere to run. Actually, I learned to stop that in boarding school because I got beat so much. Being called stupid and getting smacked in the face. Things happened at that school that I can't forget. I tried to. My wife hears me. I talk in my sleep when I dream. I am not mad at my parents. They lived in a different time. And my father was doing things for this country that made it hard because they took us away because they said my mother had too many kids and no man at home. Her husband was a man in the military, away serving this country. He still was into his family. He just chose another path where his family sometimes had to wait. I used to sneak and sit on top of the basement stairs so I could listen to my father and his friends talk about the military and hear some of their war stories and the stuff that I wasn't supposed to have any business listening to. He said, "I know that's not you sitting up there," and it always was me. "Yes, sir, it's me." He said, "We will talk later." I used to grimace and say, "Yes, Father." My dad was gone when I was 8 years old. The last 3 years of his life, I only saw him 5 times. Because he was gone, he was busy. I remember Mother, she would write him, or he would write her, I should say, and let her know he's going to be able to call home certain day, certain time. Everybody better be home. That didn't bother me because I didn't mind being home, and I wish I had more time to ever talk to him or hear his voice even. And I didn't. But that was something that's still a lasting memory for me, the fact that I did have some of his ear time. My father was gone already. and she wanted to move us back to the Chicagoland area. It was hard because the mainstays of my family that I've been very close with, my grandparents, they weren't there. My 4 cousins that were like brothers, they weren't there. And I didn't have that same core group with me. High school I went to, my last 2 Catholic school years were St. Francis de Sales out on 101st and Ewing. And public high school I went to was Hirsch High School on 77th and Ingleside, which is closer in the neighborhood. Nobody knew what it was like to live or know anything about being on a res or anything like that. Nobody spoke any native languages but slang. College wasn't of my interest anyway because I had decided long before I graduated high school I wasn't going to college because I wasn't going to be a priest. And I was going to do as much opposite by being in the military. Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri was basic. How did I adjust? I knew a lot more about what I'd be facing by having listened to my uncles and my grandfather. They didn't really have a truly #1 graduate, but finished as one of the top graduates of jump school. And where everybody else hesitated at the door, it was like, no, I was out, talking smack in the air as I was coming down. Watch out below. But that was one of the best times of my life. It was a super high, if you want to call it that, because I'm jumping from a couple of thousand feet. But I felt good. I knew I had done something my father had done. I knew I had done something my father respected. I knew I had done something that my family could respect. And I said, I'm on my way. A couple of the drill sergeants there knew my father. They're good friends because they looked out for me when I came through basic training. And I remember one surprised me. He's the one that gathered money to have my mother assist her in coming down to see me graduate. All my life when I was growing up here with my mother in Chicago, after I got a certain age, I had a job. Mother didn't have anybody that wasn't working in her family at the house. And so I had either a job watching my little sister or finding something else to do. I learned to cut grass. And every dime I ever made, I gave to my mother. And when she came to my graduation from basic training, Mother brought me a bank book where the bank was First National Bank of Chicago. I had $4,000 in a bank account. That was my money. And I didn't know it. I gave it all back to her. Because she still had to take care of my little sister and my little brother. And I lost my mother while I was in the Army. I came home before I was planning to get out, I thought. And it was Halloween. And my mother passed away that day. And I remember coming home to where she was living. And we stayed with her while we were going to be visiting. And I found her deceased on the sofa. And natural causes, and I think it broke her heart when we lost our father overseas. And she was never the same woman. And she had a great impact on my life. And I tried to take care of her. I got brought in country near Ankh in Central Highlands. It's not as heavily jungled as I expected. And there was a lot of more built up roads or paths that had been over time between villagers going from point A to point B where they're moving their merchandise factors or what they either made, grew or whatever, or whether they were moving supplies for a North Vietnamese or Viet Cong group. I remember people talking about going in country before I was over there. And they talked about there are units you can trust, there's people and units you cannot trust. The North Vietnamese, they had a lot of coordination. They had fought the French. They had terrain knowledge advantages, like any Vietnamese person. They had a language advantage with the population. They didn't have air support. That was one thing we had. South Vietnamese units were a little bit better in coordinating some things. They had the language factor on their side, and they could get some civilian support based on the fact that some were even from those regions, that they were from, as an Army unit. I sort of felt the Mountain Yards were simpler to deal with because they're not as educated to a certain degree, and we were more impressive to them in the sense that they would listen to us because they know, like they would say, all South Vietnamese, North Vietnamese, same. We kill them all because they've been mistreated by the South Vietnamese as well as the North Vietnamese. And when you hear somebody say that, it made me worry of them. The South Vietnamese people sometimes would be assigned with us. That was a difficulty factor because they didn't get along times with the Montagnards and vice versa. So that would be almost like you got two opposing groups and trying to keep them separated and functioning on targeting the third group as the real bad guys, not each other. South Vietnamese didn't think much of Montagnards. They're like primitive people to them. And I didn't like that mindset because I thought that was how society treats Native people here. I don't know all these detailed factors of how higher ups dealt with those kind of things or what they expected. I just know it wasn't something I had a real insider knack or knowledge of, or I could say, yeah, that's my forte, I know this, because I didn't. And I was new in country for the most part when all that was going on. Even though the war is winding down, it ain't moving fast enough for a lot of folks in that kind of situation. The time I'm there, we're sort of rolling things up and being pushed down south. We're helping villagers back. We had some factors to do with that, and mostly to deal with the yards, the Montagnards. We're trying to transport things in a structured fashion. And still there was times and reasons to be able to call in airstrikes, which that happened. They wanted ground confirmation of what was still out there. But it's hard for them to see what they got to aim at and hard for us to explain what it looks like on the ground and where it would fit to what they can understand. But you try to give them as much as you can. And, you know, sometimes if you were able to, by being in an area, you're going to be in for a while, pop some smoke and still move on out. But then that area is going to get hit right away. My job in my mind, listen and learn and try to absorb as much, as fast as I can and as thoroughly as I can. Just knowing tactics that the team used and what my role would be. I had to think as a teammate and not just as an individual. Learning to fit in and what everybody had strengths and weaknesses and help cover for each other. You know, nobody getting captured, nobody getting killed, or hopefully nobody getting badly wounded. You know, always stay close, stay tight, and stay functioning as a team. Stay in contact with a buddy. Nobody's out there as an individual. You have a teammate, at least a teammate, not maybe sometimes you're a 3-person or even a bigger group. But you stay in touch and know where your teammates are, know who your teammates are. You know, me, I wasn't the guy that tried to avoid anything, but I didn't fight or try to do things just get a medal. You know, I mean, I didn't walk point a lot because I'm a big guy, but I could walk tail gunner where I could be back because I had a blue and a M79 grenade launcher. I'm shooting over everybody else to the bad guys way up front. So the front guys can walk through something and all they see is people laying down, you know, but I didn't mind my jobs in the military. I had asked for those kind of things and they gave me enough of them. They gave me sometimes more than I might have hoped or expected, but I tried to cut the mustard and do what I had to do, and I did. The Army didn't really plan to exit Vietnam the way they did. We didn't take the time. We were just trying to get to a certain point where we were getting out, because we were considered in an area that should have been cleared out. That's the way it was described to us. We should have been gone. And somehow, equipment factors, even like helicopter, we didn't have that. And there were people that still didn't have us as we went further down south, as we're moving back. Nobody else wanted to be there, in a sense, and I can't say I truly wanted to be there. I didn't come there looking for fun. I came there as part of a job. Now they're pulling out, leaving, and I'm part of the people who had to pull out and go. I wasn't looking to stay behind because it's a place the U.S., to have troops there, needed to have people truly committed. And that means politicians here as well as the powers that be over there. Okay, this is my Mogadishu bracelet. This is a Montagnard bracelet from Vietnam. I actually got another one that's newer than this, and I can read it a little bit better, but this is the first one I had, and I've been trying to keep it. Because a couple of people that I knew, besides my father, that were killed over there, or that I knew that served over there, I don't want to forget who they are in my life. I haven't seen some since I first started wearing something like that. The Mountain Yard bracelet, though, I worked with a guy who was a scout. He taught me some of the things he knew from being there in the brief time we were together. And, seeing some of the Mountain Yards get killed, I don't really think they even knew what they were trying to fight for, at least by the support they were getting from the U.S. I felt a lot of regular Army soldiers didn't know how to sort of communicate with them in a viable way, what they could have done and listened to better missions being maybe planned possibly even. But, just understanding the people and how they didn't know how to fight with the technology. You see a Mountain Yard walking out there, going on patrol, and he got a jungle-made crossbow, because they still did that when they monkey hunted and things like that in the bush. It made a lot of factors less, because that's their close-knit group of people. And they chose the U.S. The U.S. didn't just choose them. They chose to support the U.S. One reason, because they thought the government might be a better South Vietnamese government. And especially they already knew from North Vietnamese Mountain Yards that North Vietnam is not a place to be either, rather than just like South. They couldn't understand why we were still dealing with either group, because to them, same. They're going to mistreat them no matter who wins, And I could respect the fact that their native mindset touched the nerve with me about my mindset about this country and things that have happened here. I got sent a couple of other places in the interims, as I was even back here, I get reactivated because I'm in a Special Forces Reserve unit. Yeah. And so that called for a few other trips in other places. I go to the Philippines because there's a Muslim separatist group that operates in the south part of the Sulu Peninsula Islands, and it's called Abu Sayyaf. And that's one of the Al-Qaeda type connected groups and stuff like that. So they activate team I was on. I get there and we're going to go out, and we're training at the Clark Air Force Base. We go out to the field to shoot and things like that and just teach them a certain amount of tactics. But there was an incident at Clark Air Force Base where one time I was waiting on a bus stop. The bus is stopping at various sites, picking us up from either a Barrett or a billet area, taking you to a different part of the airfield or the air base, or bring you back from somewhere like that. As I'm standing there, all of a sudden I'm hearing, what, is that shots? I'm looking, I'm saying, where the heck is that coming from? I look down, it's about 2 blocks away at that bus stop. 2 guys on a Lambretta scooter, a little Italian type scooter. They're riding by. One guy got an AK-47, he's firing everybody up. He's getting ready to come, they're getting ready to come my way. I ain't got nothing. They didn't want us to have no weapons on us on this Filipino base. But subsequent to that, we get training enough done where we're going to go down to the Sulu Islands. We get down there, they helicopter everybody in. Well, we hadn't hit the ground long at all, hadn't built a damn thing, and a couple of rockets come in. But they knew where we were at, and they started lighting the place up a little bit. So we have humped there, started setting up a base camp factor, but now somebody's got to go out and face these guys. Well, sure enough, who gets injured first? Shrapnel from the rockets where they hit. And so they're going to get me out of there on a medevac because I couldn't really walk. And so they put me on an ancient Huey helicopter of the Filipino Army. And I mean ancient as a helicopter. So they put me on there. I already got a boot off and gone. They cut up my pants leg on that side. And the guys trying to pluck some of the shrapnel out. They had a flight type medic, a door gunner, had a co-pilot, a pilot, an injured Filipino soldier, and myself. And we're gonna go somewhere the heck else. I don't know where. Well, it's starting now to get dark. So they revved up the engine, they start coasting to get some speed built up. And next thing I know, rat-a-tat-tat, we're getting fired up by the Sheikah, 51 caliber, I guess. And I can see where fluid is already dripping down from the engine area where the gas tank's at. It's a UH-1H, I think, or something like that. And where is it falling? Well, it's falling on my legs that are stuck out like this. Now I have, this is the remnant of a burn scar here, it looks like. And I have one over here. And they're the same. And the reason why, because that's where I was strapped in around the ankles. Luckily for me, and it's hard to say this and really mean it, the fluid ran down right there on my legs. Well, fire started in the helicopter. This burned. It burned these raggedy old straps from this old helicopter, burned them off me entirely. Pants leg was already cut off and gone on one side. And next thing I know, the doors are open because if I hadn't paid attention to that, the doors were open. Well, the helicopter is trying to gain some altitude, but it's gotten fired up. And then it starts to turn, and guys watching from the ground see a body fall out. And I didn't realize what was going on. I fell in a way that damaged my back and knocked me the hell out. When I finally came to, it was already dark. I'm still hearing shots fired some distance away. I was disoriented. I couldn't tell where it came from. And so I'm laying there and I'm thinking, oh man, I'm laying here and I'm on my back and I can't move my legs. And so I'm trying and they're not moving at all. And I didn't know where I was at, didn't know how far away from the so-called starter base camp I was at. And so I'm doing that. And well, I finally did flip over. And I was so tired, I just passed out. And the thing about it, I didn't know, I didn't have a shirt on. I found that out the next day in the morning when the sun came up and it was blasting my back because of the heat. And now I'm saying, oh, at least okay, I'm over on my stomach. Well, I can move my arms some, but I still can't move my legs. Well, then a couple of things started happening. I look up and I see a dog. And I'm saying, uh-oh, I've been in place of Panama. There are feral dogs there. And if you don't watch out, feral dog find you and you can't help yourself, he will help himself to you. You are nothing but a meal. So I'm trying to keep an eye on this dog. And now I'm also hearing noises. And I'm thinking, okay, if it's not a feral dog, that's still not good, because if that means it's probably somebody's dog. That means a village is nearby. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know whose side is whose side, where I'm at. And so I said, I just got to try to lay low, hope the dog goes away, whatever. But I hear voices and I hear somebody talking. And it's interesting because it's not a Filipino voice. It's an American type voice. And I hear this, hey guys, he's over here. And I'm saying, first I'm saying, oh poop, and then I'm saying, well, trying to have my last thoughts of the people I loved, I thought. Next thing I look up, hey man, hey buddy, you all right? The black guy I saw at Clark Air Force Base, that was his dog. He was a dog handler. And I found out it was about 3 miles from where the helicopter had originally taken off when it was getting hit in the air. So I said, is everybody okay? He said, no. I said, well, how bad was it? He said, well, 2 people survived the crash. You're one. He said, not your team captain, not the door gunner or the medic, just the pilot. I said, there's a Filipino guy. He said, yeah. He said, but he made it. And they're going to send me to a hospital. First, they sent me to a hospital ship in the Manila Bay or something. And then they sent me to Camp Zama. Anybody ever heard of Camp Zama? Yeah, I didn't either. It's in Japan. And, and it's a Marine Corps base of all places. They did a little slight procedure on my back. And I was walking within 2 days. I had apprehension, fear, and I was worried about a lot of things in the military that could happen. And that was my goal, to overcome those concerns and do my job. And I managed to do that, and I'm proud of that. So I make no excuses for anything in that regard. There are things I don't want to talk about because I don't need those dreams tonight, but it's nothing I'm ashamed of. I don't know, I'm glad I went. I have no mad regrets or anything. I'm comfortable with things I did. I don't take credit for anything special. I was where I was supposed to be at when I was supposed to be there. I've done things and I'm very proud that I was there at the right time, right place. There's some things I didn't get to fast enough. It wasn't my job to be there. But I wish I could have maybe been there. If I would have been able to help somebody, I'd have been grateful, even if it was inconveniencing me. I've done some things that I've gotten what they call honorable mention awards and things like that, of some recognition from the department. But I didn't do it to get the recognition. I did it because that's my job, and I don't mind doing my job. That's why I wanted to be a policeman. It was a way of carrying on a version of being a warrior for the plus of society. Okalawakachie, dog soldier societies. When you get asked by them to join, I didn't go in the military to do that, to hope to join the dog soldier society. But I'm proud as hell that I was asked to join one. And I'm prouder than that, the fact that it was my grandfathers. They asked me. I used to love to be at powwows, because when they introduced the veterans, and I like that still to this day as one myself. And that's, to me, an honor to be considered one and to have a role in a community or the Native society that I'm a part of. There's not too much better than that to me. The love of my family, my wife, my kids, my grandkids, those are all good things. I got chastised by my oldest daughter today by not being quite as available as I have been at other times, because of different things going on. And a lot of that is my health now, because of different things that I've had to endure over the years of being a policeman and also being in the military. And that's something I live with now, but I'm not ashamed of. I have scars that I'm proud of. And there's things behind that. Some stuff I wish I could talk about better, but it's hit me in a certain way that I literally tear up, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I lost good friends. I lost people I had great respect for, and I hope somebody does what I do. When I dance at powwows, and I still do, dance is my way of praying for somebody. My wife has had 8 strokes in 4 years. It's a family inherited trait of disease in a sense, and I have to dance for her. And I don't call that have to as something I don't have a choice about or something forced on me. I'm gladly doing that. I want to be known to do that for her, for us. Tell them what you did, Stephanie. Tell on yourself.
Well, we were getting ready, we were eloping.
Hold this. Us. I'm greedy. I want her to stay alive and stay well. I'm very greedy about that. She doesn't like me to say this. I'd rather be gone than have her still here, because she's a better person. And in my heart and my mind, she's never committed a sin. I can't say that about myself. She's been in my heart. And if that doesn't sum anything up to the best degree, I don't know what does.
I was very nervous when I found out I had gotten this class. I didn't know many people in the military, much less how to make a documentary. William Smith was the veteran assigned to me. There wasn't much context next to his picture, but I could tell he had a story in his eyes. I may not have gotten the chance to meet Bill, but I've been very blessed to hear his story. Having the opportunity to share it through film has been an honor. With courage and bravery, Bill Smith has proved to be a true warrior.